Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima represented President Bola Tinubu at Tuesday's induction of 2 attack aircrafts in Benue State. The helicopters were delivered from Turkey in November 2023 as part of the federal government's effort to fight terrorism and other forms of criminality across Nigeria. Shettima said the president was confident that the deployment of the platforms would significantly enhance the combat efficiency of the Nigerian Air Force internally and over the West African region. Brigadier General Sani Usman retired as a former spokesman for the Nigerian Army, and he joins us now to discuss how the new additions to the Air Force assault fleet can become the needed game changer in Nigeria's war against insecurity. Good afternoon, General. A very warm welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's talk about these new aircrafts.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Let's talk about these new aircrafts in layman's terms. Of course, we do know that 7 new aircrafts have been acquired within 6 months of the Tinubu administration as part of trying to harness the strategic use of air power in combating terrorism. It seems like a drop in the ocean, but can you educate us further about the impact of these acquisitions?
I think it's more than a drop in the ocean. It will make a tremendous impact. As a matter of fact, I would rather call it a game changer in the fight, particularly against terrorism and insurgency and other security challenges as manifested in banditry and kidnapping. You will understand this if you look at the features associated with this new aircraft, in the sense that it is so versatile. Now there are certain facilities and weaponry that can take out, criminal elements to the point of either they are stationary target or mobile, and to the extent that the guns are right in front, in fact, to the point of taking even a motorcycle rider. So you can understand, and these are some of the modus operandi of some of these bandits. So it will, and apart from that, it has the capability of going to, flying higher altitude and going as low as possible so that they can be able to accurately engage target more precisely and minimizing, collateral damage. But most importantly, it will form a support base, and not just at operational level, but even at tactical level. So you can see that the ground troops now will be more supported with this kind of, and more so, it is not just this launched aircraft. 4 others are coming in a short while, so that will make it 6. And I think in no distant time, there are 12 other aircrafts coming from the United States of America. So the Air Force will now have the ability to respond to support calls in any geopolitical zone or theater of operation in this country. So, and with that combined effort, supporting the ground troops, it will make a desirous impact on the fight against terrorism and insurgency and other criminal criminalities in the society, particularly banditry and kidnapping. So, but most importantly, is the issue of getting timely and accurate information and intelligence so that the the Air Force can strike fast and immediately.
Thank you so much for explaining that in detail. But of course, it's also been stated that in order for the impact of these aircraft to be felt, other factors like pilot training, maintenance, fuel supply, intelligence gathering, and tactical coordination between air and ground units is imperative. As quickly as these aircraft are being brought in, are you also content with the pace at which these other factors are being put together to ensure that it's indeed a success?
You are quite right. These other factors are also coterminous to the success of these newly acquired platforms. But that notwithstanding, I can rest assured you that all effort is being made to ensure that it is not just the training of the pilots and, but including maintenance and other things have been taken care of. So really, but of course, you cannot have everything that you want at the same time, but it's an ongoing process. So they are very important, and everything is being taken into consideration in respect of that. But most importantly, now it calls for closer collaboration and cooperation, as well as coordinating, the activities of the security forces. Like I earlier mentioned that it is critical that the Air Force should have timely and accurate information and intelligence to enable them strike as at when due. So basically, it requires the coordination of these factors that you have been talking about, and they are very busy. And in fact, it is to the credit of the Air Force that the federal government decided to bring more platform to them based on the fact that they have been training hard and they have shown the ability not only to maintain but to effectively utilize this. And other services are also following suit. So I think we should commend them, commend the government, commend the Air Force for this effort. And most importantly, call on all those that need to cooperate further to support the Air Force to ensure that they give the best they could to deal with the security challenges.
Very well put, Brigadier General. Now, I'd like to take a quote from The Economist, who did an analysis on Nigeria's insecurity situation earlier in the year. And they say, I quote, "The government tends to splurge on fancy weapon systems that fail to tackle the root of the problem, which is poverty, poor education, and anger at army atrocities." Now, this takes us to the conversation about kinetic and non-kinetic approach, which is an ongoing conversation. When we see the arrival, the induction of such heavy-duty equipment like what we've witnessed now, does that mean that we are starting to shift our attention more towards a kinetic approach, or are we still going to focus on non-kinetic? Are we winning with non-kinetic as well?
I think the two is just question of dealing with issues using both carrot and stick. So the two of them go pari passu. So much as there are situations that actually it require kinetic approach, but I think the combination of both kinetic and non-kinetic, and that is why we kept on talking about the whole society approach. And whole society approach to a large extent means inclusivity of those segments of the society that have not been factored in dealing with security challenges in the country. Take, for instance, issue of good governance is very important, because if you have good governance, the local government system is working, some of the security challenges, they have their root causes on minor issues that could have been dealt with at local level, but unfortunately it is allowed to escalate because the complete resolution mechanisms are no longer there. So all of them had to go hand in hand with each other, so that the need for these coercive agents or deployment of the security agencies might not necessarily, might be needless, because the security challenges, as soon as they manifest, take for instance the role of the police is to detect and prevent crime. If you enhance and you strengthen the policing system, they can be able to discharge that duty, so there might not be need for escalation of some of these complex situations that we have. So invariably, it requires, collective, our whole society approach to deal with security challenges in this country.
Well said. Now, of course, one of the advantages that was pointed out as regarding the aircraft is pursuit. It's being stated that helicopters and fighters can track and pursue perpetrators trying to flee, making arrests more likely before suspects go underground. Of course, this speaks to the preventative advantages that comes with the acquisition of the aircraft. But I'm wondering, of course, this is great, but what about those that are currently in captivity at the moment, those who have already gone under the radar? What approach would you like to see in ensuring that, that they're rescued potentially?
Yeah, so much as we talked about the efficacy and the precision of the new weaponry, we also talked about, I made mention of minimizing collateral damages or casualty, as the case may be, because of these new features and the artificial intelligence as well. So we're moving towards, using technology in dealing with these security challenges, which is quite good. But like you rightly said, there are some people, they are still they are still in the hands of these kidnappers almost on daily basis. We have had instances along Lokoja Lagos Road with these transportation companies and so many other places. Now, that is where the non-kinetic approach comes into play, that we have to look at other things that we can, see to what extent those that have been held in captivity are rescued, without, putting them in the harm's way. And that is why the essence of non-kinetic approach comes into play. And I believe effort is ongoing in respect of that. So balancing the carrot and stick to ensure that the safety and security and the life of every Nigerian matters.
Right. Now, in his statement upon his return from Paris, the president made mention to the fact that it's too early to celebrate when it comes to some of the developments that have been made with regards to insecurity currently. When you just do an analysis from your own, based on your experience, from your personal perspective, what is the time frame we're looking at here? Is this something that we can see being eradicated? Do we see security in the landscape for the better part of Nigeria within the short term? Given the intricate and understanding that you would have of the workings of the various forces that are available to combat insecurity.
I think the president is quite right in the sense that we shouldn't celebrate, in the sense that we know what is going on in the country. It's more or less like a wake-up call. I made reference to the whole society approach. Invariably, each and every one of us has a role to play. But of course, the government has to lead. And by leading, have to conscientize people in terms of security education, in terms of strengthening these security agencies to live up to the expectations. Take, for instance, what is the level of equipment, what is the level of training, what is the level, well, the government is doing its own, so the society also ought to be doing its own. And I will make reference to the issue of what is happening in the Northeast. There were concerns, with the roadside bombs and what have you. We noticed the society tends to lay back a little bit in the sense that because there is semblance of peace in the Northeast, so people take things for granted. Unlike in the past where everybody was on his feet to make sure that they give the necessary support. And that is how it's supposed to be in this country. We should know, it is not yet Uhuru. So we have to do that. But coming back to the issue of giving timeline, given the nature, the fluidity of security challenges and the way they kept on mutating and their complexity, it is very difficult to say this is the timeline, but it is equally important to make sure that whoever is tasked with the responsibility is given certain indices to be reached or certain point to be reached or dealt with. I could remember in the days of Anini, there was a time when the then president asked, I think, the Inspector General of Police, where is Anini? So it's a question pregnant with meaning. So with that kind of thing, it will give people, the impetus to be alive to their responsibilities. That means monitoring and ensuring that if it is money that is released, if it is equipment that it is used judiciously, and the result is being seen. Of course, we have been seeing the result, but there is so much to be done in terms of, harnessing the potentials of other, components of Nigerian society in dealing with security challenges. I have made reference to the local government system. So much as you think that you have so much platform and all the rest of them, but these people, in most instances, there are some other people in the value chain. Take, for instance, the issue of informants. They hardly carry weapons, but they live with the society. What are you doing with them? And naturally, they said, follow the money. So how do you track, terrorism or insurgency or criminal, kidnapping funding or investing the amount of money, collected as ransom. So these are the factors that we have to also look at. So much as we think of the kinetic, we go back to the non-kinetic, strengthening institutions, strengthening individuals that have critical role to play to ensure that, they complement this effort so we can be talking about timeline, short and long term, as the case may be.
Very well said. Now, you did mention raise that very important question. How do you track terrorism and criminal funding? Based on your insight and experience, where is this administration or the security forces, where are they missing it fundamentally? Because what you said is very important, but from your observation, where are they missing it completely in a sense that you might not be necessarily content in that area?
Well, they are not missing it, so to speak, but it's just that you have to look at the nature of the Nigerian society. You look at how we have been battling, with to become a cashless society. Most of the transactions are through cash, and so it is very difficult to. But the little they know, take for instance, it is a common knowledge in those days, when kidnapping occur. The money is being paid, and in part of the value system, they tend to go across border to purchase cows. And these cows will be sent to Port Harcourt, Lagos, and all the rest. They will sell them, and thereafter they will bank them. And of course, I know the NFIU is doing the best it could to ensure that they track, and with the active cooperation with the bankers. And of course, there are so many, concerns about the level of the relationship and so on and so forth. And I think this needs to be strengthened. People should understand that we have to go cashless to be able to track some of these things. And it requires the cooperation, not just the government or the effort of the government, but even the private sector. Take, for instance, even the POS operators. Not even just POS operators. We have had instances where in rural community, somebody who is let's say even the local woman that is selling pap and akra, early in the morning. Suddenly, her customers were not up to 30. Suddenly, somebody will come and buy, the pap and akra was for 30 people. She will not talk. She's just happy that she has made sales briskly very early in the morning. But under normal circumstances, questions should be asked. Where is that person going to? At that early morning, was there any naming ceremony or wedding ceremony, or so to speak? These are some of the nuances that we have to take into consideration. So it's security education, but beyond security education, empowering the people when they see something, they report, and beyond reporting, acting on that. So these are some of the issues that we'll be talking about. So it is not as if they have failed. So it's a collective responsibility, and to a large extent, actions or inaction of a particular component of the security system has corresponding influence on the activities of the other.
Absolutely. Now, one of the big conversations, and shall I say criticisms, that has been coming from the opposition with regards to the ongoing fight by the Tinubu administration has been around body language, whereas, some opposition leaders are feeling that the body language may not be aggressive enough in communicating that there is a seriousness about battling this insecurity. Now, today, I believe it has been postponed. However, the service chiefs were supposed to address the Senate and answer some questions and let us know what is going on in their various areas. When they do get the opportunity to speak to the Senate, I'm curious as to what you feel the body language should be from them. What is your expectation, given that the nation is waiting with bated breath, not just for reassurance, but people want to see action and answers. So if you were in that position now, having to address the Senate, what would your body language look like, and what's the message you're hoping to hear from the service chiefs?
Well, I believe, first and foremost, I will rather give you a scenario that will answer your question. Just before I came into the studio, right from 10 o'clock, for about 2 hours or more, at the Nigerian Army Resource Center, we had a brainstorming session that dealt with some of the security challenges, particularly kidnapping and insurgency, looking at other countries and all the rest. And so there were heated arguments and, suggestions and recommendations. And I don't want to go into them simply because, but these things are being packaged and being sent to the various arms of the government. And it includes what is expected of the Senate and other components of the Nigerian society, as well as the executive and the judiciary. So I don't want to preempt it, but I think there is still room for improvement. And I believe the interface between the service chiefs and the Senate will give a window of opportunity for them to understand each other, and they will bear their mind to each other so that they will understand the issue of oversight, the issue of the problem that they go through. Take, for instance, issue of funding, what is expected, and even sometimes language. It is not just the body language. Sometimes the utterances have the capacity of undermining security challenges or demoralizing the troops, as the case may be. And I think these interfaces are very good. They will enhance the relationship, and I think Nigeria will be better off for it. But I can rest assure you, the report by the Nigerian Army Resource Center will also complement this effort that you are talking about, and I don't want to preempt that report also.
Of course, we understand your discretion, General. But I'm now wondering regarding the interim. Of course, we know these aircraft were inducted, but pending when we can see them being used actively, and the other aircraft come in, the 4 and the 12 that you mentioned. What do you want to see in the interim to make sure that we don't have fresh incidents until they're really being used as they should? Briefly, please.
Yeah. So the thing is that it's a collective responsibility. There is no way the federal government alone can deal with security challenges. So it has to be a collective responsibility between or among the 3 tiers of the government: the federal, the state, and the local government. You all know what is happening to the local government. So it's more or less like going back to the issue of ensuring local government and autonomy and ensuring good governance. Some of this, take for instance, a lot of people were involved in security challenges simply because they cannot even simply fit. Or some of them, they are naturally criminal, quite right, but there are some people who are tempted simply because they don't know what to do. You know that life is hard. People barely, make ends meet. So the natural thing is to go into criminality to make ends meet. So we want a situation whereby the socio-economic well-being of an average Nigerian is being improved upon on daily basis to prevent that. And unless that is done, I think we'll have some problems in our hands.
Right, Brigadier General retired Sani Usman, former spokesman for the Nigerian Army. Thank you so much for this insightful and robust conversation. We truly do appreciate your input today.